things got a little bit complicated. They had some employees leave. Okay. Thomas Smith, who of course was, the chief technology officer, later the chief blockchain officer, he left. With the wallet, you had Hank Wyatt that left. You had a lot of employee turnover from what there was in the beginning. So if you want to talk about criticism, I would say that they didn't retain people exactly, right? Now, on the other side of the coin, these weren't exactly employees that you wanted to retain either. And I think this has led to a lot of the, drama and issues that you see now, right? Some of the hires that were made at inception of the project has led to some of the problems that you have now. Whether it was, David, the uncle, right, who was involved in some things, has put out some passive aggressive tweets, or, Thomas, Hank,
There's
these
a
guys.
family feud, right?
Yeah, there definitely
Yeah.
is a family feud. I mean, you got to acknowledge that. And David Smith is not happy with John Caroni, and then you got past employees that are not happy with John Caroni. But I think John has gotten it right. I think he's got the people in play now. He's got the experience and he's got the right team. But that led to, I think, some of the delays that we've seen to date. Now, I will say this: it would be better to have a delay where you put out a really viable product, in this case, the exchange, than to have something come out and not have it be to the highest quality.
Yeah.
So, although that's frustrating for us as holders, I think it's going to work out to our advantage in the end. I think this is going to be much better than what we would have had.
Are they still coming out with these updates? There was like a Safemoon Sunday thingy that I always saw.
They've kind of gone away from that. And, on our show, the feedback was, look, if the team needs to put down their head and work, go ahead and do that, right? Like, we don't need like constant updates. So what John's gone to is he's gone to a captain's log on Twitter where he gives routine updates. He had some messages the other day. His communication has gotten a lot better. He is, expressing where they're at as a project, but also tempering expectations. So I think he's really grown in that regard.
Um, I don't hold that against any young man under 30. Young men under 30 are young, dumb, and full of cum, and really, really stupid when it comes to almost everything in life. They get a girlfriend, they fuck up the relationship, they start a company, they ruin it. I just watched We Crash, the movie about WeWork. That case in point, right? There are very, very few. I'm 50. I've started 6 companies. 3 of them are still alive. My first company was such a colossal failure that it bankrupted me, right? And that was I was under 30 then, right? I have learned my lesson, and I think most of crypto is under 30, and they have yet to learn their lesson, right? If they have changed the messaging, if he doesn't do this YouTube update stuff anymore, then he's grown up. Then he's more serious about this now. What is in the future? What do you think will be the next steps? I'm also interested in the exchange. Why do we need another? It's going to be a decentralized exchange.
No, it's going to be a centralized exchange.
Okay. Well, and we need that exchange because of the cryptonomics, tokenomics of Safemoon, or why do we need a separate exchange?
I think it's twofold. I think the cryptonomics part of it is one part of it. I think that the technology and I think the user interface and what they have, I think, is going to be better than what we've seen just based on the look. I know not everybody's going to buy into that, but they're going to have cross-chain swaps between Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain on this. They're also going to have, like you said, the cryptonomics, but then they're going to have, the Bitcoin pairing, the Ethereum pairing on there. When you look at the charting on it, not everybody gets excited about charting, but my co-host Dan, he pointed out that it's some of the best charting he's seen based on the interface, very similar to like what you would see on Webull, and that's missing on a lot of exchanges. So I just feel like they're going to do a better job in a lot of ways than what we've seen in the past. And I think it's going to lead to people wanting to use the exchange, right? I think it's something that they're really. I look at them, Martin, almost as like perfectionists at this point. They realize that there's a lot of exchanges out there. John has said that 20% of the time is spent building it, and 80% of the time is based on the regulations and keeping up with the compliance to make sure that everything's right. And so they've really focused on that. They've spent a lot of money on the regulatory side of things, and I think they anticipate that being something that's going to sustain them over the long run.
I had I had a conversation in a pub in London 2 weeks ago with an Ethereum developer, and we spoke about SafeMoon, and he disparages everything that's not Ethereum. So he's not ranking very high in my hallmark of opinionated fame. And he said, "What the fuck? He moved to Utah. It's full of Mormons. It's full of morons." And I said, "I think you mean Mormons." We had the funniest conversation after that, and then he admitted that every single one in crypto has ultimate tunnel vision. The tribalism of the crypto space is so intense and so ridiculous. You know, it doesn't matter what project you're in. If you talk to Charles Hoskinson and people at Cardano, they are so convinced that they invented the ultimate form of crypto. The Bitcoin maximalists come at you with insults. Basically, every every Bitcoin maxi I've ever spoken to you has talked down on me for even suggesting that anything else but Bitcoin is the holy grail. There's not a single project out there where you can have serious, objective, balanced discussions. And I kind of see this as my role and my mission to get people to talk to each other and not just sit in echo chambers for the rest of their lives. We have all been fucked up by Zuckerberg with Facebook. We learned how to behave in the Facebook age, liking only the people that like us. And the whole Trumpism in America is not caused by ignorance and stupidity and redneckery. It is caused by people not seeing, not hearing other voices. My biggest hope for Web3 and the next phase of the internet and our digital lives is that we're not going to end up again sitting in our echo chambers and only going to our own parties and making fun and disparaging everyone else. That is really my biggest hope for the next iteration of our digital lives. And I'm not very optimistic. I've been to people in the sandbox, metaverse, Decentraland, and there's exactly the same tribalism. There's exactly the same arrogance. If you know of a project called Meta Hero at Everdome, the management they're so arrogant that they really. I met two of them in Dubai last year, and I rather spend a week talking to my grandma than 2 minutes with such really arrogant people. That really turns me off when people are so full of themselves. But I get the impression that is really not the case with Safemoon. I get the impression that they're learning, they're growing up, they're becoming more serious. You think that's the case? Do you think that Safemoon is onto something, and that the mainstream of crypto, if there is any, there probably isn't the mainstream of crypto, should take this more seriously?
Yeah, I do, and I'll go to my co-host, and then I'll go to Miguel after that on this one. Let me put it this way: no one's going to take it seriously until it actually happens, because a lot of people are looking at this, like you said. You got Bitcoin maximalists, you got people that are Ethereum based, There's a lot of great projects that are going to work off Ethereum, right? I mean, I really like Dot. I think Dot's a great project. I really like Gavin Wood as a CEO. I think the guy's really sharp. But, they're not taking it seriously because this evolved from the Binance Smart Chain. Let's just call it like it is. We talked about this multiple times on our show. 95% of these projects on the Binance Smart Chain are going to fail. That's just the reality of it. And that's when it goes back to people calling them shit coins, right?
Don't get me started on Binance.
Well, there's no vetting process.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I have absolutely nothing good to say about Binance.
And I get it. And look, we understand. I mean, like, we're not saying that, like, the Binance Smart Chain projects are always going to work out, because let's face it. I mean, you can look at the evidence, right? But what we feel is that Safemoon is an outlier, that this is a project that is the outlier that is going to evolve off the Binance Smart Chain, and it is going to have a cutting edge exchange. We call it a centralized exchange. John's really called it a hybrid. And then I think with the blockchain that they're going to have and everything coming out, I think this is going to be something that, is going to be, let's face it, it's going to be one of the few.
Do we know anything about the features of that blockchain? Technically?
We don't yet. I mean, he's hinted at it a little bit. He's talked about a mesh network with it. What exactly that entails at this point, we don't exactly know the fine details of it. But I do believe that one thing I do believe is this: they work at these things. We are early in this project, but I do believe they will deliver. I think in 2022, Martin, you're going to see three things for sure. You're going to see the exchange, which I think is going to be a game changer. You're going to see the Safemoon card. I believe that will come after the exchange. All right. And then I think you're going to see what's called Safemoon Connect, which is a project that the former chief technology officer, Ryan Arriaga, developed and actually had acquired by Safemoon. That includes a POS system with the card. And there's also going to be some other features in there. But I think those are going to be the three big. I would love to have the blockchain this year. I think that's up for debate. I think if it happens, it's definitely going to be end of quarter 4. If it doesn't happen by end of quarter 4, I think we'll have it quarter 1 of 2023. And then I think you'll have smart contracts evolve off that blockchain as well, which I think are going to be fantastic for the rise of the project. Dan, you want to add to that?
Yeah, Martin, you had asked or hinted along the lines of, why is it that there isn't a lot of closed-mindedness in Safemoon? You don't have that stuck up effect that this is the only project, that there are no other projects, that everything else is shit. I think it really ties back to the fact that many, if not most, of the investors in Safemoon, this was their first project. Many were virgin investors. They entered Safemoon. They have no experience in crypto. So their outlook isn't as blemished, I would think, as maybe a Cardano investor might be. Many of us are anything but sophisticated investors. Some of us, I come from a stock background. I traded in the stock market for years. Many people have never been involved in crypto before. And I read your article today, the in defense of apeism. And reading that, and I guess I was reading and listening to you in my mind struggle and wrap your head around how that project evolved, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, how that evolved to be what it is, and how we have a fragmented society. You have different generations of people with one leg in technology, one leg out. It's a fragmented society. There's entire groups of individuals, a lot of times being males, that have no community. So there is a community aspect to it. I think that article that you wrote, it's pinned to the top. you could substitute Safemoon in there perfectly if that presents any kind of idea to that.
I try to see the reasons behind things happening. So my first reaction to the Bored Apes was like, this is absolute shit. And then a pal of mine from Andreessen Horowitz got in, and I said, you're just in it for the money. You're gonna hurt so many people with this. And he said to me, no, that's what people want. And so I went back and I said, why do people want that? And I looked at what's happened to this world in the last few years. The ultimate reason why crypto is what it is loneliness. People are feeling alone. We used to live in tribal societies, in tribes, where we knew everyone who lived in our cavern, in our village. We had community, we had churches on Sunday, and then nation states were born. And suddenly the village was not important anymore. We went into cities. And in the cities, in the big city, we felt lost. And then the internet came, and suddenly we felt lonely in the internet and cyberspace. And now we have the metaverse. We have infinite possibilities and infinite universes and metaverses. And we are still fucking lonely. We don't know who we are. So what all these projects need is the sense of belonging, community. No, I'm not just some low-life redneck fucktard in a camper van somewhere in Georgia, trying to make ends meet by working at the local Walmart. Or I am not some lonely billionaire on Lake Como with 5 Italian hot girlfriends. I'm still alone, right? If I go into the metaverse, I want to have community. But that community is the yacht club, right? That community is the Bored Apes. Then I have the opportunity to buy my ape, so I stand out. So it's the uniqueness factor and it's the community factor that Bored Apes combined and suddenly gave people a reason to live. I think that's behind of all these stupid, ugly NFT shit that's going on, is because at the end of the day, people are lonely and they want to belong somewhere. And COVID, the isolation of COVID that some people have endured for months and years, exacerbated that. The more we advance technologically, the more lonely we end up being in our daily lives. That's my observation, and that's my reason that I put out in this article. It's not just a money-making scheme by some rich VC people on Wall Street. And believe me, you come from the stock trading side. My office is right around the corner from Wall Street in New York. The Uphold Securities is a New York, doing business as JNK, is a New York broker-dealer, right? So I know a lot about the investment world. And you said very rightly, our clients have about $4 trillion under management, and the only thing they know about crypto is Bitcoin and Ethereum because they read it somewhere in the Wall Street Journal. And they get into Senate debates and pen club debates about whether Bitcoin is better for the environment than Ethereum and whether proof of stake is better than proof of work. That is so last decade. We've moved on beyond that. And yet the mainstream discussion and the political discourse is about, are we killing the environment by mining Bitcoin? There's such a gap in knowledge and understanding that it's gonna come back to haunt us if we don't educate people, if we don't talk to each other, if we don't offer public forums where everyone can talk reasonably about their view on crypto and their project without hating on each other, without disparaging each other. I think that's the key. Crypto is not going anywhere if we don't sit down and talk.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let me go to Miguel real quick because he's got some good perspective here for you, Martin. Go ahead, Miguel.
First of all, Doctor, I can't commend you enough for having this conversation. Your objective skepticism really brings forth the meat in the conversation and the facts. One thing I wanted to circle back to was what sets SafeMoon apart, as far as in my eyes. Um, and to me, it's their global vision. SafeMoon is the first crypto and tech company that I've encountered, and I vet a lot of tokens out here. It's the first one that I encountered that is actually bringing crypto to real world use case. In the fact that John is leveraging his experience working in third world countries when he worked for the United States government. And he is leveraging that experience to bring banking to the unbanked, in that he has partnered with companies that are building smart cities and working through them. He's got a vision of bringing crypto and bringing banking to these underdeveloped countries, which have no infrastructure, and bringing them an infrastructure of technology through renewable energy and putting it all on the blockchain, on blockchain technology. Everything from education to trading to voting. So this is something that to me set SafeMoon apart, was that not only are they building a crypto company and a tech company, but they're also taking it where it's most needed, to underdeveloped countries that need infrastructure, that need new ways to trade, that need ways to send money from one tribe to the next. He's focusing on this, and a lot of the innovation that he's bringing forward, as far as windmill technology, as far as the blockchain technology, as far as the exchanges, all of this, the use case, making it so easy to use it, is geared toward bringing it not to the masses per se, to the developed countries, but bringing it to these underdeveloped countries and giving them a way to move forward and be more advanced.
You know, Charles Hoskinson of Cardano fame does that. He's in Africa all the time. The problem is, if you want to talk to Cardano people, you have to have at least 10 academic papers published. And that kind of turns people off, you know. I see the appeal of SafeMoon to the masses, to the great unwashed, to people without doctorates and an academic background. And I do think that this is needed. You know, we most of us, including myself, are not on the level of a Wyatt or a Ben Jorgensen of Constellation, of a Matthew Nymark of Azero, where you need real mathematical knowledge and you know, I am taking a course right now in quantum computing and quantum physics, and I'm over my head. I'm really struggling, you know. I'm trying to understand the world and not losing touch with lifelong learning and stuff, but it's really a challenge. I think the next iteration of blockchain is going to be even more academic and brainy. And that's why I respect projects that try to make this happen for people who do not have the brain power, but most of all, don't have the opportunity to go to a good school. You know, millions of Indians live on $20-$30 a day, a month. The incomes in farming in India, the second biggest nation on the planet, 800 million people live in what is real poverty. You know, not the kind of poverty we have in America or in Europe, where we still have some form of social network and food stamps and insurance, but complete and utter destitutions. People without houses and toilets and no access to education or banking or anything. So any project that tries to do that, you know, has my respect. What I don't see, and I want to put this out there, what I don't see from SafeMoon is engaging the serious side. You know, there's this kind of defending the project against accusations and FUD and outright lies by people who may have lost money with it, or people who have a genuine criticism. But I don't see the team of Safemoon engaging with the larger, more academic, more serious crypto community. My question is that because nobody takes them seriously? Or is it because they're still arrogant enough to say we can do this on our own? We don't need your respect. We don't want to talk to Cardano and Polkadot and everybody else. Why do you think is there? Is there a disconnect? And if you agree that there is, should we do something about it? Where's it coming from? Does it harm the project? I'd like to hear your views on that.
So it's really interesting that you bring that up because a lot of people aren't aware of this, but our listeners definitely are. We actually had Charles Hawkinson in our space listening on a Saturday evening. This was back in, I want to say January. So, Martin, we record the show. We put it on Apple. We put it on Spotify. Of course, it's on Twitter. And we get a lot of listeners. We actually have 48 countries that listen based on our Spotify statistics. And Hawkinson was in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, Charles does that. I know.
But he listened in.
He does have, he can be an arrogant shit, but he has an open mind and he is fucking smart. He is, I mean, you don't start what was once the third largest crypto and a whole new project of staking and a huge foundation. You don't start that by being stupid. You know, he is really, really good at what he does and his convictions. And the fact that he's listening to Safemoon is kind of, I'm impressed. I didn't know that.
And it was funny because, like you said, you got a segment of people that will attack Safemoon and attack our program, right? And they all said, "Oh, this is bullshit," right? And then we showed a screenshot, and they said, "Oh, that's doctored. That's bullshit, right? Fake news." And then somebody played a recording, and they showed him live in there with that check mark. Oh, I guess it wasn't bullshit, right? I mean, he was in there listening. Now, he wasn't in there for hours or anything. I think it was maybe a half hour, but he was in there. And then he opened up a space afterwards, and he had a bunch of media personalities that came in, and one of them asked him about it, and he joked about it, like, he's like, "Oh, I just saw there were a lot of people in this room and decided to come in and listen." It's not something that he kind of blew it off, right? But in terms of you were talking about Polygonmatic, John put out a message about a month ago talking about integrating with blockchains in the future, and he mentioned Polygonmatic was one of them, and the other was Avalanche. He said he was looking at those two as something they could integrate with in the future. So I think there is going to be a little bit more engagement there. I think there is some arrogance. I think that's part of it. I don't think you can give just one answer to that explanation. I think that John and the team have evolved. We're a young project, and I think that you're going to see, like you said, Polygon, Avalanche. I think there'll be some engagement there, possibly some integration in the future with Safemoon, and then I think there's others that just look at Safemoon and just don't take it seriously, right? Rightly or wrongly, that's their view. They just look at it and they don't give it the proper respect that it deserves at this point. And I'm sure you've seen that. I mean, you've touched on that tonight. Look, I think a guy like Charles Hawkinson could, really develop well with a Safemoon. He's doing work in Africa. Safemoon has a mission they want to complete in Africa. Charles has been working on this for a long time, and I think it would work out well. But will it happen? I don't know. But I just think that if people had an open mind and they really started to look at this project, I think they would realize that there's a lot of advantages with Safemoon. I don't think people are going to take it as seriously until they really release this utility. I think the Safemoon Exchange is going to open a lot of eyes, and then I think people are going to have more of those discussions. That would be my short answer on that.
I'm more comfortable with a project that is being ignored and not taken seriously and then delivers than with a project that is taken very seriously, like Lunar, and then just dumps the shit out of it. And the losses incurred by the Lunar Project. It's ridiculous. We did some statistics with my research team, and we are up to like $230 billion in losses. that's the whole defense budget of your average nation. This is ridiculous. This is more than the GDP of most European countries.
It's crazy. And if you think about it too, like, look, I mean, and this is what I said on our show Monday. I said, 2 weeks ago, if we came on here and we said, how do you feel about Luna and Do Kwon as a CEO? Everybody would speak glowingly of him. If you went to John Caroni, everybody would talk about controversy, a planned class action lawsuit, team members
Is there
saying
one?
bad.
How can you sue crypto? I mean,
Well,
nobody's.
they're claiming an issue with the V1 to V2 contract. We don't think it's a viable lawsuit. We don't look at it as something that they're a company, so they're a U.S. based company in Utah. So there's Safemoon LLC. John's listed as a defendant, some other past employees, and then some influencers at the beginning of the project. Bottom line is this: a lot of people have been after John over these last few months, and they would have given Do Kwon, a 5-star rating. But things can change that quick. I mean, what appears, it could be an oasis in the desert, right? So everything
Well,
could look
Do
great.
Kwon is now under investigation by the Financial Crimes Authority of South Korea. You don't want to be investigated by the South Korean police, believe me. I lived in Asia for 30 years. Jails are not very nice there.
Yeah, I mean, my point is, you're right. And I think Do Kwon is going to have whatever justice will be met, right? And if he did something improper, and some people believe he did, then I think everything will play out the way it's supposed to play out. But the point is, up until 2-3 weeks ago, everybody would have said Do Kwon was this great CEO, and they would have looked at John Caroni totally differently. That's how things can change in an instant.
I think the worst invention ever was the titles of chief executive anything, chief financial officer, chief executive officer. That makes young people, young men especially, get very, very cocky. I built a company, I'm not a fucking CEO. No, you're not. You're still sitting in your mother's basement and you're going over spreadsheets. This title craziness in business is the downfall of most companies and most people in business.
Do you think, like with Charles, having that experience at Ethereum, because there were 8 founders, including Vitalik, right? I think Gavin Wood was one of them as well. Do you think that experience when he launched Cardano, humbled him so that he didn't have an outlook like most CEOs?
I think he's a humble person down. I think he's suffering a lot with the current state of crypto. As is Vitalik Buterin, he is a very sensitive young man who tried to change the world and create a better society, and instead Ethereum is being used to make millions of dollars for venture capital firms. I don't think he likes that. I don't think he likes what Ethereum has become. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I do have some inside knowledge about these circles, and many of these projects don't like what they've become, where they are going, which gives extra ammunition to the Bitcoin maxis saying, okay, we have taken out the human factor, the arrogance, and we're just a computer system that makes the world better with Bitcoin. The problem with that is this is techno-maximalism. I have the same criticism for Bitcoin that I have for DeFi, decentralized finance. Your gardener, your neighbor, is not going to put his life savings into the hand of a computer algorithm. He can barely turn on his ice maker. He can barely repair his own car. He's not going to put his life saving into a fucking protocol that lives somewhere on a decentralized computer. He's going to give his money to his pal at the local bank, And if he loses his savings, I know where you live and I have a gun, you know. Decentralized is all very, very good, but it's not something that the average person understands. I'm having a lot of discussions in Europe, and you know, just I work for I used to work. No, I'm not no longer since I joined Uphold full time. But I used to work for central banks, and last June I was invited to. It shall remain anonymous. A European Central Bank Committee of gray-haired eminences of state finance, and I entered the room. I was hired by them to answer some questions about finance and blockchain and stuff. And with a very, very arrogant tone in his voice, the boss said, "So you're kind of an expert on this new type of money." And I sat down and we had a bit something to drink, some tea, I think and then he said, "So tell us, what is this blockchain everyone's talking about?" That was in 2021 in a committee of a central bank of a not so small Austrian European government agency. That's how disconnected this space is. The people who are threatened, whose livelihood, whose positions, whose jobs are threatened by a new technology, do not understand what the threat is. One of the reasons why I'm so skeptical about the swift adoption of crypto and decentralized finance in particular is that millions of jobs, pension plans, positions of power depend on our traditional finance system. Our traditional finance system is hugely inefficient. Do you know how much CO2 emissions are caused by trucking shitloads of dollars from ATM to ATM, from bank office to bank office, distributing funny money printed on paper or plastic? Bitcoin is way more environmentally friendly than traditional money. But so many jobs, so many livelihoods, so many careers depend on our traditional financial system. These people are not going to go away overnight. My biggest worry about the Lunar scandal is that it has given. I was on a technical advisory committee for the European Central Bank last year, and I had a conversation with one of their main, one of the big honchos there, and he said, after several consultations, he said, the way I look at it, these central bank currencies, we don't really want that. We don't want to deal with retail. We don't want to deal with millions of citizens having electronic wallets and we put digital money into their wallets. A central bank is meant to regulate other banks. This is where our power is. This is where our expertise is. If you give us a digital currency, we don't want to deal with people paying in a digital pound at their local Asda. That's a supermarket chain in the UK. So central banks don't really want central bank digital currencies. So last year, the European Central Bank and some of these committees there, they said, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make somebody else responsible for doing this, and we're going to take the credit. So we're going to do stablecoins. Let some company come up with some stablecoin stuff. We can claim we are embracing digital money, but if it all goes to shit, we can wash our hands and say, "Ooh, sorry about that. Stablecoins didn't work out." Guess what? 6 months later, stablecoins didn't work out. Now everyone's saying, of course they didn't work out. It's an algorithm. We need stable coins that are pegged to the fiat currency. And I read to you I found this extremely interesting. Let me find this. I just posted this tidbit from the Norges Bank, the Norwegian National Bank. Norges Bank, Norway's central bank, is conducting experimental testing of its central bank digital currency. It says in the press statement, now pay attention to this. The declining cash usage, adoption of digital payments and cryptocurrencies and stablecoins have motivated Norges Bank to test the digital form of Norwegian krona to preserve its monetary sovereignty, promote financial stability, and secure an efficient payment system. To preserve its monetary sovereignty. Central banks are jumping on stablecoins to save the concept of fiat power. Crypto is being fucked by central bankers who want to hold on to their jobs. This is where we are right now. And Do Kwon just gave every central banker in the world a reason to exist for the next 20 years. This is the problem with Luna, apart from the fact that some people put all their life savings in a project, which you should never do. You know, you really don't put all your eggs in one basket. We've known that for centuries. But the fact that stablecoins are now in doubt, that Paolo from Tether had to come out on a public forum explaining that the Tether is buying US treasuries to back the dollar, that is the antithesis to decentralized finance. There is nothing more centralized than backing a stablecoin to a government-issued fiat dollar. It is, you know, crypto is 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and we have just taken a huge step back with the Lunar fiasco. And I don't know what the next. I know what the next big thing is. Strong getting or strong failing. You know, there's going to be more of these. There will be many, many failures, as there have been in the history of stocks and for the financial system. If you studied finance as an academic subject, the funniest part is the tulip craze in Holland. You know, everyone in Holland bought tulip bulbs. The price of tulip bulbs shot up like a fucking cryptocurrency until they realized, okay, it is not sustainable to pay 2 gold bars for a tulip bulb. And the same is going to happen in crypto. The same is going to happen over and over and over again. Because ultimately, we are nowhere closer to finding an ideal, just, democratic, and fair financial system than we were at Bretton Woods, than we were with the gold standard. We have not advanced in any way of taking monetary power away from elected politicians, from unelected politicians, from venture capital billionaire assholes. We are light years away of having a fair democratic world, and DeFi is our best shot at it right now. And unfortunately, it's going to have a very, very tough time ahead in the next few months.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there, and you had even more detail than we've had, obviously, with your experience, which is very valuable for us to hear. I mean, it's tremendous. And what we've said is that it gives the government a compelling story to regulate, right, with these stable coins. Because all you have to do is tell the story of people taking their lives, losing millions of dollars, you know, how this hurt humanity, and lawmakers are going to want to act. There's that emotional pull there.
You know
Don't
what
you
this?
agree?
You know what the story? There was a headline in a South German newspaper yesterday. Man, family father of 3 kills himself over Bitcoin implosion. What he did is put all his money in Lunar. The headline of the fucking newspaper read, Bitcoin implosion. Journalists, enough said.
Yeah. Look, I'll say this. And I think we all believe this, and I think they can chime in as well. I just feel like with Safemoon, it's just a matter of time, Martin. And I think it's funny in life when things are underestimated and people don't take it seriously. You know, those are the things that tend to catch everybody kind of off guard. We were caught off guard with Luna in terms of that decline, right? Because it was sharp and it was fast. You pointed out that you saw this from the early beginning, but let's face it, 99.9% of people did not see that, and they don't have an economic background. They don't have the education that you have. People saw the price going up, 90, 110, 115. I mean, hell, we had people on our program that were saying Luna was going to be $1,000 a token at some point, right? That just no one was even thinking like that. Okay, they weren't looking at the technical aspects of it. But with Safemoon, I feel like we have something different here, and I've always felt that. Now, if I'm wrong, I'll own it. But it's just there's just a lot going on there where, and like I said, they haven't put out the products yet. That's going to be happening this year. But I think a lot of people are judging it before they've really shown what Safemoon is. I mean, you have a large community that took off. They found lightning in a bottle. We have a wallet. We have a V2 contract, and then people are judging it. But you don't have what they really want to have as a project yet. That's coming soon.
How
I
many
think that's
holders are there? How many Safemoon wallets holders are there?
so. On the V1 contract, we were at about 3 million. You go to the V2 contract, currently we're in that 670,000 range. So it's a large community. Shiba's not too far behind, but Shiba also
How
has 3 times the supply as well. Go ahead.
how did they pull this off? How did they get so many users?
I think it was one of these things that just doesn't happen, and the marketing with it. I mean, I'll give you an example. One of my good friends saw a TikTok video, got in day 3, put a couple thousand in it, and became a top 300 holder in the project. Has not invested or added since. Deleted the wallet off his phone, hasn't sold, hasn't thought about selling. Last time he checked his wallet was, I think it was the 26th, because him and I had dinner on a Christmas Eve of last year. I talked to him about the V2 migration. He migrated 2 days later and hasn't checked his wallet since. And they just got people in early, and it just took off. I mean, the influencers, the TikTok, it just really beyond what they thought. I mean, and we've talked about on our show. Kyle Nagy was the original Safemoon dev. It was a copy and paste of the B token. That's what the V1 contract was, and it took off like a rocket. It was just one of those rare things that you just don't see happen. Now, the V2 contract, completely different. It's a proxy contract, much more secure, just a much more viable contract. But it was just one of those situations, where it's hard to explain. I don't think we'll see this again for a long, long time. And that's, when people criticize Safemoon and say, well, hey, it's not this, it's not that, there's delays. And I get all that. Not everybody's patient, but start a project and show me something that's going to take off with that many holders that fast. with the community, and you're not going to find it. It just doesn't happen that way. Dan, you want to add to that?
Well, it does. What I was going to say doesn't really add specifically to that. It does in a way. I think what Martin was speaking about, and this ties into Safemoon. It ties into many projects. The overlap of fiat. You look at Safemoon. The current price is 0.0058 petrodollar cents. That's how we see it. We all know the petrodollar, the evils it has created, the giant shitstorm of a monetary system that it is. And, I believe you're exactly right. There are entities, governmental entities to name one, corporate entities also, that are going to look for any way possible to continue that. If that means merging fiat with crypto, that's an easy way to do it. Very easy way to do it. So I guess my question, Martin, would be, how do you see that ultimately changing? Because we're talking about the basis of crypto, and it may be more than one basis. We've theorized that Safemoon will ultimately be based in energy, renewable energy. That could be a basis for Safemoon, where the petrodollar is based on a government's ability to defend oil with a military. And that's a very barbaric way to create value. The dollar has been going up sky high. There's been a lot of terrible things going on in the world. So there's a direct relationship there. So my question would be, and it does relate to Safemoon, being that ultimately we theorize that it would become a basis based on energy, renewable energy. How do you see that leap being made from a fiat petro basis, to something else, and what that would look like?
Two things. First of all, congratulations of seeing that. My research team, excuse me for a second. Sorry, I'm back. Old man toilet break in the morning. The problem with fiat currency has been evident since the start of the Ukraine war. The fact that the risk of flight to safety play is still the American dollar shows very clearly that power is where military power lies. Ukraine is not winning the war. American military intelligence is winning the war. All the respect to the Ukrainian people, but this war would not have played out that way without, I think, is massive intelligence support from the Pentagon. Military power is underlying financial power, always has been. If I rule my fiefdom, I issue the coin, from the Roman emperors all the way to the American government today. The reason why the euro is still to this day considered a failed project, even though it is not, is because Europe doesn't have an army. The reason why people still dump their pounds and their euros and their bitcoins in a time of ultimate crisis. We had a real possibility of World War III. Putin is mad. He could have pressed the button and we would have nuclear war. The the fact that in the face of this ultimate threat to humanity, the knee-jerk reaction of the world was to buy US dollars. Tells you everything you need to know about the power of fiat currency. When is it going to change? It's going to change when your average Joe, or as we say in the UK, your Dick, Tom, and Harry, get their salary paid in Bitcoin. Right now, the majority of people on the planet get paid in a form of, in a medium of exchange issued by a central authority. That means for people in Indonesia that they get 100,000 ringgit. That means for people in Hong Kong, they get Hong Kong dollars. For people in Taiwan, they get Taiwan dollars. For people in Japan, they get yen. And the Europeans get euros. And the Americans get dollars. And you know what you make a month, a week. And based on that, you know how much you can afford. Can I afford to go to the movies? Can I afford to buy a new iPhone? All the calculations in the back of our heads are based on what we have, what revenue, salary we can count on, and what part of it we can waste on weed and beer and drugs and sex and rock and roll, and what part of it we need to save to create an education fund for our children, and what part of it we have to give to our ex-wives for alimony. All of that is based on the fiat denomination of the currency in the country that you live in. As long as this doesn't change, as long as we don't think in a different form of currency, we will not understand or embrace said currency. Now, I have started a thought experiment. It's more than a thought experiment. I'm keeping a tab on my own expenses and my salary. I started this in February, only in Bitcoin. So I still receive my salary in dollars, but I immediately converted to Bitcoin, and I keep a tab. I made a spreadsheet, and I put my expenses there in Bitcoin. And it's really interesting because with the fluctuating price in dollars of Bitcoin, my accounting looks like shit. It looks like a mess. But if you just ignore the dollar price of Bitcoin, it looks beautiful. And then I made a little adjustment. I did away with all the zeros before, and I just imagined that we were not talking about 0.001 Bitcoin, but one. It's kind of a currency devaluation thing. When Israel, what was it, 1,000 shekel became 1 shekel. That's what I'm doing with Bitcoin, so it looks nicer on my spreadsheet. And my thinking has changed. So I know I get 0 point something Bitcoin a month, and I know that my plane ticket to New York costs this amount of Bitcoin. And I've started I have enabled myself to absolutely not give a fuck about the price of Bitcoin. And that is something that needs to happen on a much, much larger scale before Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies at large can take off in any meaningful way. We can't go on earning salaries and spending currency at the local supermarket, and at the same time we are saving said currency and exchanging it for a crypto asset that has no relationship whatsoever to our daily lives. I went to the car dealership, my old Hyundai doing a weird noise. I think it's the brakes or the suspension. I don't know, I'm not a car guy. So I went to the car dealership and I looked at the new hybrid and I went to see the Tesla, and I put down the prices of these cars in Bitcoin. And I said, okay, it's actually not the best time to buy a car. I'm going to wait for Bitcoin to go up again and then buy a car. And I said, no, Bitcoin is cheap now. So it's actually, no, I'm spending too much Bitcoin. No, I'm not going to spend my Bitcoin. And this whole thought experiment of calculating my daily life in Bitcoin is I find it hugely amusing. And until we have institutions and companies and governments thinking in Bitcoin, we will not have adoption on any meaningful scale. We're not going to change the world if we're still stuck with fiat currencies. And since you mentioned this also, the price of Safemoon, I think one of the biggest psychological traps of many of these projects is this fact that you can buy a huge number of tokens for a very small amount of fiat. So buying Luna, you can buy 100 million Luna now for $13,000. You can buy, let's say, 10 million Luna for $1,300. So for many of us, this is affordable. $1,300 for many of us is not that much money. You can buy a million for $130. Let's take it down a notch. $130. That's maybe the price of a good steak in a good New York restaurant. Dinner for two. And you have a million tokens. Psychologically, the same is happening with SafeMoon. I think people sitting on their wallet saying, I own 10 billion SafeMoon, like the version 1, right? I own 10 billion. Right? It kind of psychologically makes you feel like you're already a billionaire. And if that goes to just $1, $1 is nothing. If that just goes to $1, I'm going to have $10 billion. Purely psychological, this is like the biggest trap ever. If you strip away the zeros and rebalance your currency, like Israel did with the shekel, or Turkey did with the lira, or Indonesia did with the ringgit, you just take out 3 zeros or 6 zeros. Then you're looking at the price of Luna currently being $3, and it needs to go to 3,000. And suddenly, okay, 3 to 3,000? That sounds like hard work. 0.0003 going to $1, that's easy. Psychologically, people are lured into this trap. And is that maybe, Chris, is that maybe one of the attractions of SafeMoon, that made people believe, I'm holding so much SafeMoon, I'm going to be so rich one day if it only goes to $1?
I mean, if you want to go all the way back to the beginning of the project, you're talking with 9 zeros, right? So, I mean, imagine you get in this in March, right? And this thing shoots to its all-time high in April. Now, the equivalent of that, when it hit its all-time high, would be like 1 penny, almost 1 penny on the V2 contract right now, okay? So imagine you're new into crypto, or let's just say you're not. Let's just say you decided to buy into this. You saw the hype on TikTok or Twitter or wherever it was. You decided to invest. I mean, let's go with the guy I know. He invested a couple $1,000. And the next thing a month later, you got 400, 500 grand. At that point, word gets around quick. And I think what's unique about SafeMoon is it created an expectation that it was going to continue on that trajectory month after month. All right. So people were like, well, damn, I got here in a month. What's it going to do the next month and the next month? Well, I think that's when reality set in. And I think the community and the team evolved and it matured really quick because they were forced to mature in terms of, okay, there's going to be a lot of hard work behind this. We're going to have to develop this. We're going to have to put out an exchange, a blockchain, a card to transact with this. And this is not going to happen overnight. And you sensed, look, the community got a lot more patient. At this point, Martin, the people that are still in this project, they understand what a long-term hold is, and they understand that it takes time to develop quality, that it's not about hype and building a community ultra fast, that you got to have patience, and you got to understand that this is not going to happen overnight. If you talk to people in the community now, they get that. People that left the community were buying on that hype and expecting immediate results within 6 months, 7 months. Now what you got left is you got people that really care about the project and the community and believe in the future. And let's face it, we never thought it would be at this low level right now. Now you're starting to see it rise up in a bear market, which I think is even more interesting. I think there's more going on there. I do think, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, they have the listing on Mandala. The Binance Cloud team developed Global Tokenomics, which is eventually going to be on the Mandala Exchange. And there were some tweets today, with John Caroni, Binance, kind of, they were talking about pineapple on pizza. It's kind of a running joke in the Safemoon community. But a lot of us feel at this point that Binance is going to list Safemoon, just like Mandala's listed it. And you're looking at Global Tokenomics.
Isn't there a Binance repository wallet already for Safemoon?
I can't confirm that. You might be able to confirm that better than me, but a lot of us feel like that's going to happen. So I do feel like we're going to get a Binance listing. Okay. Is it going to happen within the next 10 days? No, no, I don't know. I don't know what the timeline is going to be on it, but just some talk behind the scenes, the listing with Mandala, there's been some hints that I think this could happen. And if you have a Binance listing, you have an exchange that comes out that people are really confident in and want to use, we get the card. I really think we're on the precipice of something really special here. Now, do I have the expectation that this is going to shoot up to $1 this year? No, but could I see $1 in the future with Safemoon? Absolutely. I could see $1 or higher. I'm interested in your thoughts on that.
Well, the interesting fact is that they're still trying to go this alone. And that somehow, for me, shows a belief in the project and your own abilities that might be rewarded at some point. Just to compare this, because you brought it up with Shiba Inu. You know why Shiba Inu is so successful? It's because they're pandering to the wallet owners. For many wallets out there and exchanges, Shiba Inu is the biggest money printing machine in existence. The trading fees earned on trades that are denominated, that trade assets that are worth like 0.0000 whatever, the spread that you earn as an exchange, as a wallet, is ridiculously profitable. So all of these irresponsible wallets like, I'm going to say crypto.com, there was a first one that changed their app download to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Shiba Inu. How fucking retarded is that? How irresponsible is that to put Shiba Inu, which has a mostly undoxed, irresponsible, unknown development team that are not responding to any press inquiries, that are not present at any forums, that really nobody knows what they're on about, that puts out weird messaging about we're going to be the currency of the metaverse and stuff. I have never gotten an answer from anyone involved in the development of Shiba Inu at any conference, in any professional setting, in any academic discussion. Nothing. They don't exist. And yet you have crypto.com putting out, it's one of the most popular exchanges in the world because there are fucking people over and over with their 10x, 20x leverage plays, which are just meant to steal money from the pool, from the riffraff. Honestly, it is so irresponsible what they're doing. They should be held accountable for that in some way or another. But nobody's looking at that because they seem to be so well connected, and they bought a fucking stadium somewhere, whatever American, what you call some World's League something.
Staples Center in Los Angeles is the Crypto.com arena.
Yeah, what is that? Football, baseball, hockey,
Basketball.
I don't know.
The LA
Basketball.
Lakers.
The LA. Oh, I know the LA Lakers. Okay. I don't know. Fuck all about sports. Sorry.
So we were talking about a pump, right? So let me bring this up, right? So look at Doge, right? Doge it was a 75,000% increase, right? It took it from 0.001 to 75 cents, or I think it settled around 78 cents, right? So, and Doge was started out as a meme. It was a joke, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I don't think Safemoon's a joke at all. Obviously, we know that. I think that they actually have real utility, and I think that they could have a growth like a Doge, but with the tokenomics that you have in play in a deflationary currency. I think that this is a different deal. That's what I'm getting at.
I get the impression that it is. I'm not ashamed to admit that I made quite a bit of money with Dogecoin last year. It's not something I admit to freely. But I did. I sometimes do see the potential of a coin just because it has a celebrity, a hype value, and at the end of the day, most of us, as academic as I may sound, as highbrow my circles might be, at the end of the day, most of us are in it for the money. You have to be honest about it. We want to change the world. We want to make the world a better place, but we can only do so if we have the means and the influence and the power to do so. That said, I have about 20 minutes left before I have to go on my Australian Broadcasting Corporation interview. Do you want to take some questions from people?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Let's go to DeFi Rich. Go ahead, Rich.
Oh man, I was just listening to you guys. I was just dozing off. Don't mind me.
All right. Let's see. Anybody else that wants to come up here, feel free to come up. Martin, let me ask you this. What do you see for the future of Safemoon? Because right now, like I said, I feel like the community that we have is very behind this project. And I feel like the best is yet to come. I do think we're going to have some movement in 2022 and even more movement in 2023. I said earlier that I don't think you can really judge this project until they've released all the products that they intend to do from the beginning. And I think that's what people are guilty of in this case. And I think that's where people are going to look back and say, damn, we missed the boat on this. They're going to say, we judged this on the length of time it took. We didn't necessarily believe they were going to deliver. And they did deliver, and look at it now. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I rarely make predictions, especially not about the future. But if they have learned their lesson, if they are able to solve their family feuds, if that lawsuit is being dismissed, if there is substance to it, and if they engage more professionally with not necessarily the serious aspect of finance, but with serious people, I think they would stand a better chance of being taken seriously. At this point, I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a closed community of fanboys and girls with laser eyes. I'm seeing a belief in a project that may or may not prove to be successful. I'm seeing definitely more substance and potential than in many, many other of these contentious projects. The scope, I looked a bit into everything that Safemoon is talking about. If any part of this comes true, I'm fairly convinced that the rest of it will come true. You know, if they can make a working blockchain, if they can have a working exchange that proves its mettle, that turns out to be sustainable, then I have the greatest confidence that they will deliver on the rest of it. And if they do deliver on the rest of it, then the sky's the limit. I'm in no position to disparage or criticize a project that has not withstood the test of time. And, you know, 1 year in crypto is a long time if you want to become a millionaire. It's absolutely nothing if you're a serious investor. You know, I know people who bought with me in 2002 Apple stock, and they sold after a year and said, "Oh fuck, we've made it! I made such a profit with Apple." You know, look at them now. I bought Apple stock in 2002, and I don't even know how much it is worth now. I think I'm the most patient investor on the planet, and my stupid experience with my speaking fee when they paid me my Bitcoin is I wouldn't say I got lucky. I was just plain not interested in money. I had the luxury of being occupied with other things and not worry about money. And the sad thing is that most people don't have that luxury, right? They have to make a living. They have to put food on the table. And if they are messed up by the promises of crypto of getting rich overnight, they're going to lose faith in that. And going back to Luna, that really set us back bigly, as you like to say over there. It's not a good space to be in when single projects fail that have been shown respect by people who themselves are respected. I mean, Novograd's got a fucking Luna tattoo. I wouldn't have a tattoo, and the tattoos are the stupidest thing you can do. As anyone who has a tattoo of their ex-girlfriend on their arse can tell you, you know, tattoos are not the way to go. So if he put a Luna tattoo, if he actually has one, as he said, and it shall forever remind him of the importance of humility, then I'd like to end this on this very note, that the one thing we have to learn in crypto is humility and listening to each other and being fair and objective. And this is the biggest challenge I think society and the financial system and democracy is facing. The Web 2 generation of Google drowning us in ads and stealing our data, the Web 2 generation of Facebook locking us into echo chambers where we only hear the sound of our voices, of our own voices. The retardedness of Instagram, where people commit suicide because they can't live up to the beauty ideals of the people they follow. These people fucked up society and have a lot to answer for. And if there is one thing I'm expecting from Web3 and the next installment and the future of crypto, is to give us another shot at making this world better and fairer and more democratic and more equal. And if Safemoon has any part in this of getting us to a better place, then you have my full support. And I'm going to keep an eye on the project. And if there is any big development, let's do this again, Chris. and whoever you think I should talk to. I'm open to anything. I'm not afraid of controversy. I'm not afraid of standing up and saying, okay, I'm listening.
And Martin, I'm
And
gonna put you on the spot a little bit here.
Yeah.
I know that you got in Safemoon early, but with the current price level, and you look at the utility that's being delivered and what we see as impact, not only this year but next year, why not invest more at this price point?
Sure. Where are we? What is it now? Let me check.
We're in the 5.8 range now. The last 2 days we've moved up. We had significant movement today. At one point we were up over 20%. And I mean, just for it to be as low as it is right now, even with the movement we've had the last 2 days, I mean, right now, Martin, even with the 10% tax, you're getting $1 million in the $600 range, which is a hell of a lot. So I just look at it
Full
like this.
disclosure, I seem to be owning 30 million Safemoon. Is that okay?
It's a good number, but I'm going to be honest with you. I've been adding the last 3 weeks. Somebody
All
asked
right.
me yesterday, "Do you have a goal?" And I said, "Well, to be honest, I don't have a goal at this point. My number is infinite until I see that price start to take off." That's how I look at Safemoon right now. That's my confidence in this project.
All right.
I think based on the math and the people I've talked to that really understand this, it's not a traditional project in that you're tracking the price. This is about volume. And once you have volume that takes off and you have your bag size, doubling, possibly even tripling, with the FOMO that we believe is going to kick in, I just think, look, 13 million is a good number. I'm not going to disparage that at all. We have people in our community with less than that. I just see at this price point, I don't know how you can't take advantage of that.
Okay,
A
I'm
lot
going to
of our
put my money where my Twitter space is. And let's strike a deal. I know where you live. and I'm going to buy some Safemoon. That referring to the banker, that I mentioned earlier. This, let's see where this is going. It's one of the most interesting projects out there. I definitely subscribe to that. And maybe I'm going to write an article about it. I'm going to reflect on this conversation. I'm going to look into the Safemoon community a bit further. I'm going to talk to people who are very critical of Safemoon. I'm going to find out what some of my peers think about it. I'm not going away. I'm listening, and I'm not going to change my avatar, my profile picture to laser eyes yet, but you have my attention.
And then we need to have some discussions about getting this on Uphold as well.
I don't know if it's possible to list this the cryptonomics, this paying out mechanism. Is it still doing that? Do you still get rewards for it?
You do,
how
but
you transact?
what they developed with Mandala, which is going to be released soon, and which we believe is going to lead to Binance and other exchanges, is a global tokenomics system where they've developed this technology so you can list it on other exchanges.
My research assistant is on the call. Do take some notes. Let's look into that. Guys, I have to go. I have to prepare in 10 minutes. I'm on Australian radio. It's been very interesting. Thank you very much for talking to me. And let's do this again. If there's a milestone, if there's any big development, hit me up. Let's do this again.
We can definitely do that. And hey, everybody here, I'm going to open up a space so we can talk Safemoon, because I'm loyal to the Army, man. And Martin, man, I thank you for your time. I think this is the beginning of a great relationship. We'll come back on when we hit another milestone, and I don't think it will be that long. So I want to give you a heads up on that.
Absolutely. Been great talking to you.
Thank you, my
everyone.
friend. All right, guys, I'm going to open this one up for on my page. I'll put it right out in the next minute. Talk to you later, Martin.
Bye. See you guys.